Hi everyone, for today's video I am going to show you how to sew Prudence the felt chicken, and it's all hand sewn, so even a beginner can sew this chicken, and it's made from felt, and I love sewing with felt because it's very forgiving. And in this video I will show you how to do the eyes a little bit different because these are safety eyes, and in my video I don't use safety eyes. But these are super fun to sew up, and they're super easy. And the video will be in 4 parts because I don't want the videos to be too long, so I had to break them up into a 4-part series. I will number the series in the title of the videos. And here is where I got the pattern. It's from an Etsy shop, and it's called the Little Softy Shop, and she has a bunch of great patterns to make felt critters. And this happens to be called Prudence the chicken, otherwise known as a barnyard buddy. And right now the pattern is on sale, but by the time I get this video series up, I don't know if it will still be on sale. But either way, it's a reasonable price. I will put a link to the Little Softy Shop Etsy store in the description of my video down below. And now it's time to start sewing Prudence the chicken. I'm going to start with the comb. And I have 2 pieces here, and I need to sew these together. To separate your embroidery floss, you're going to cut, this is 6-strand embroidery floss. So I'm going to cut a length that I want to use. But you don't want it crazy long, just long enough to be easy to handle. And I need 3 strands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of separate this. And I am going to do this strand by strand. So I'm going to find 1 strand. And I am going to pull 1 strand at a time off. It can be a little fiddly, but it can be done. But see, there's 1 strand. So I'm going to grab it, and then I'm going to pull the main other strands, the 5 other strands down. See, that's 1 strand. And get another strand, but I'm going to pull it, I'm going to hold it, and then I'm going to slide the other strands down. 2 strands, and then 3 strands. And then I'm going to even these up. So they're all even. And I'm going to pull them together. And then I have my thread wax. And this is just to make it easier so the threads go through the felt easier, and so they don't tangle as easily. I'm going to lay this across my thread wax, and then I'm going to pull it through. And now I want to thread my needle. And I'm not going to show you this every time I start sewing, because I'm going to do it the same way every time. So I'm just going to show you this once, and then I won't show you again. I have a needle threader. I'm going to put my strands through the needle threader, all 3 strands. And then I'm going to pull it through my needle eye. And then to make the knot at the bottom, I'm going to put the tail on my finger like this. I'm going to bring this up, and then I'm going to roll my fingers. And then I'm going to pull, and you get a nice knot. But I'm not going to show you this every single time. I'm just going to do this once. So I showed you how to separate the embroidery floss, how I used the thread wax, how I thread my needle, and how I make the knot. To sew my chicken, Prudence the chicken, I am going to use embroidery floss, and I am going to use contrasting colors for video purposes so you can see it better. But with this chicken, I used coordinating colors. And I'm going to start at the base of the comb. I'm going to insert my needle on the inside. And this is, I'm going to whip stitch this shut, and I make sure my knot's in there. And a whip stitch is basically over and back to the front. I'm being careful not to take too much bite. I just want little, as close to the edge as possible, but just so it doesn't rip. And I'm going to do this all the way around the comb. And I kind of keep my thumb here to guide the embroidery floss. And I'm keeping the stitches fairly close together. Now you're going to see this little bit right before I start sewing the comb, because I realized I haven't been talking about tension. And tension is how hard I'm going to pull my thread. So I just want to show you the tension. I'm going to, when I bring my needle up, when I pull it, I'm kind of stopping when I feel it hit the felt. I'm not taking it and I'm not pulling it real tight. See what happens when you pull it real tight? That doesn't look nice. So let me loosen all this up. But I'm just going to loosen this up so I can show you the tension, because that was way too tight. So when I pull it so I can feel it stop at the felt. I'm not pulling it crazy tight. So now I'll go back to sewing the comb. I just wanted you to make sure that you knew about the tension. This doesn't have to be perfect. That's what's fun about sewing with felt, is it looks great no matter how you sew it. Because the edges are really forgiving. So if you don't cut it perfect, that's okay. And now I'm getting to the end, so I want to tie it off. I don't have to sew this part because this is going to go inside the chicken's head. So I just make a loop, and I don't pull it all the way through. See my little loop, and then I'm going to stick my needle through it, and I'm going to pull tight. And that gives me a knot. Now to hide this knot, I'm going to go in the felt, but I'm not coming out the back. See, I'm not coming out the back. I just take a little bite of the felt fibers and I'm going to pull that to the inside. And then I will nip it off. And there's the comb. And I will do the same. I will sew the same way for the legs, but for the legs I'm going to use red. And for the leg I'm going to start with this big toe here. I am going to pull my thread through on the inside. There it is. I'm going to tuck my knot down. And then I'm going to whip stitch this entire leg. But see, I'm running out of thread now, so I'm going to end this and I'm going to start again with a new piece of thread or floss. And I'm just going to tie this off, pull it tight, and then again I'm going to go to the inside and I'm just going to take a little bite of the felt, but not so it comes out the back. And I'm just going to pull that off. And then I'm just going to start this where I left off. I'm going to go on the inside where my next stitch should have started. Then I want to make sure this knot's kind of tucked in there so it doesn't stick out. And then I'm just going to continue sewing. And sometimes this happens, you get a knot on the back. And to fix this, you gently pull and kind of untangle it. Uh-oh, that's a good one. There we go. Then when I get to the top of the leg here, because that's going to be hidden inside the chicken, I'm not going to sew over the top. I'm just going to take my needle and I'm going to push it, through to the other side. Like that. And then I'm going to start sewing again. And I'm running short on thread, and I don't want it to run out when I'm in this curve, so I'm just going to end it now so I can start a new piece of thread. And I made my loop. I'm going to end it with a knot. And then to get this out of the way, and to hide it, I'm going to take a little bite of the felt here, but the needle doesn't go to the outside, to the back. I'm going to cut some embroidery floss off. And I need 3 strands. There we go. Again, I'm going to pinch it, and then I'm going to pull. And again, I'm going to pinch it, and I'm going to do just 2 strands at a time, because if you do more than that, it gets all tangled up. One, that's 2, and I need 1 more. And there's 3. And then when I start again, I am going to start where I left off. I'm going to insert the needle where my next stitch should have been. I'm going to pull the knot to the inside. I'm going to make sure it's hiding in there, and then I'm going to start sewing. And so now it's time to end the foot. I'm done. I'm going to take 1 more stitch, and then I'm going to go through my loop, and I'm going to pull it kind of tight, but not crazy tight. And now you just don't want to cut this off here, because then you're going to have some weird loose threads. So I am going to take it up through the middle of the foot. See, you can't see the needle. I'm going up through the middle, and I'm just going to bring it out anywhere up here. There, see, I brought it out up here. And now I'm going to pull that thread and pull my needle off, and now I have this thread. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off, and now let me cut it a little bit shorter. And then I'm going to kind of roll it there. My end is now inside of the foot. You can't see any fuzzy ends. And now I'm going to sew the other leg the exact same way, but I'm not going to video it because, you know, it's the same as this one. But I like to make these double because that way they're more stronger, because when you have one piece of felt that's not doubled, look what happens. It can rip and break. So because these legs are skinny, that's why I decided to double them. And I did the same with the comb, so it'd be more sturdy and it would stick up better. And here's the other leg. So I now have 2 legs, and now it's time to sew the face. So I have the eyes, the wattle, and the beak. And I want to stick these to the front in order to sew them. You can use pins, but I'm going to do something a little different. I am going to use a temporary spray adhesive so these won't shift around on me. And this is my box. And here's the eyes. I'm going to put them upside down. I'm going to spray them one at a time. Otherwise, they scoot around in the box from the pressure of the spray adhesive. And this is my spray adhesive. It's 505 spray. And I just need a little bit. I don't need to go crazy. So here's the eyes. So those are all set to go. I have to sew the eyes on first. So I've printed this off on tracing paper, and this is so I can put the eyes where they go. And I know the eyes go there. So I'm going to pick my eyes up and put them where they go. Let me check it. Yep. And now I'm going to sew the eyes. For the eyes, I want to use 2 strands of embroidery floss, but I'm just going to double one strand, so I'm going to separate a strand. And her instructions say to do like a straight stitch, but I am going to do a whip stitch because I think that looks nicer. So I'm going to bring my needle up where I want to start. I'm not going to worry about the knot because you won't see this because it's on the inside. I will probably shorten the tails up a little bit here. And see now how those eyes don't move because I got the spray adhesive, and I can just start sewing. So I get as close to the edge as possible, and then I make one little stitch, and then I come up where I want it to come up, and I just do the same thing, and I just keep doing that. Around the entire eye. Now to end this, I'm going to bring my thread to the back, and I will make my knot. And now I have to sew the wattle because the beak goes on top of the eyes and the wattle. I have my transparency here so I know where to place the wattle. And there we go, that's good. So now I'm going to sew the wattle just like I sewed the eyes. need the transparency for this. I can tell where the beak goes just by the face. So I'm going to put the beak on there, and then I will sew it on the same as I did with the eyes and the wattle. And the face is finished. Now I'll go on to the belly, and I will sew the belly. Now I have the belly started, and because this is a bigger area, I want to show you a quicker way of whip stitching. Because this was a little area, it was hard to do it that way. So this is a bigger area. So I brought my needle up through. Now I'm going to put my needle where I want it to go, and then I'm going to bring it up where I want it to start the next stitch. And then I bring it down, and then in one movement I bring it to where I want it to go. But because this is a bigger area, that's why I can do it this way. I couldn't do it that way in these little areas. It wouldn't have worked very well. So I'm just going to continue this around, and then when I get to the end, I will finish it like I did with these. And now that I'm done sewing all the way around the belly, I'm going to end this. So I'm going to stick my needle to the back. And then I will make my knot. And then if I want, I can run this through over here a little bit, just to make sure the end's secure. And then I will nip this off, and my belly is done. And this was series number 2 out of 4, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you're notified when I upload series number 3, which will be joining the 2 halves together.